my friends. Hello, world. It's Daisy here. Today, I just wanted to stop by for a moment and say thank you. Thank you for choosing to be here with me, even though this is my very first video on YouTube. I truly hope that on this journey, we can learn English together, share our honest feelings, and create a warm, vibrant space where everyone who walks in feels like they belong. And you know, because today marks a brand new beginning, I want to talk about something that has changed my life even more than motivation ever could: consistency. And now, I want to share a story with you, a story that shows how consistency can quietly transform our lives in the most powerful ways. You know, sometimes life brings us a story that looks really simple at first, but for some reason, it stays in your mind long after you hear it. And today, I want to share one of those stories with you. It's about a boy named Moan, a boy who simply refused to stop. And as I walk you through his journey, I want you to think about your own. Because even though this is a story about a kid running along a river in some small, distant village, in a way, it's also a story about all of us. So, let's begin. Moan grew up in a quiet little village by the river. Nothing special, nothing flashy, just a place where the morning mist floats above the water and the sound of wooden tools echoes from tiny carpentry workshops. His father was a carpenter, spending every day sanding, cutting, carving, hoping to earn just enough to buy a bag of rice for the family. And Moan? He wasn't the chosen one, not the smartest kid in class, not the fastest runner in the village, not the hero you'd expect from a fairy tale. But he had something not everyone has: a fire inside him, quiet but steady, growing a little stronger every day. A voice that kept whispering, "Just keep going, even if nobody believes in you." Every morning, before the sun even rose, Moan would wake up, tie his worn-out shoes, and run along the riverbank. The whole world was still half asleep, but his dream wasn't. He could see it clearly. One day, he would be selected for the district sports academy. One day, he would train like a real athlete. One day, he dreamed he'd make his father proud, and maybe even turn that tiny wooden workshop into a real, solid store. And I want you to picture this for a moment. A little boy, running alone before the sun even rises. No coach, no fancy equipment, no cheering crowd, just the sound of his breath and this quiet belief that tomorrow could be better than today. Have you ever been in that place? Chasing something that feels so far away, so far that at some point, you start asking yourself, why am I even trying? What am I doing this for? I've been there. And honestly, I think most adults have felt that way at least once in their lives. Moan's journey was nowhere near easy. Dreams rarely come with smooth, comfortable paths. And for him, the road felt like climbing a mountain with rocks tied to his ankles. No matter how hard he trained, no matter how early he woke up, he kept losing every race he joined. Second place, third place, sometimes way behind. And you know how people are. They always have something to say. Moan, running just isn't for you. Why try so hard? It's not worth it. Your dream is too big, kid. But the hardest part wasn't hearing those words. It was when he started to believe them. But Moan, he didn't stop. He kept waking up before sunrise. He kept running down that muddy trail, longer and harder than anyone else. Because sometimes, it's not the world that needs to believe in you first. You need to believe in yourself. And that's where the real story begins. A lot of people think success is this neat, upward line. But Moan's journey was nothing like that. It was messy, exhausting, and full of moments where giving up would have been the easier, more logical choice. But Moan didn't choose the easy road. He chose the meaningful one. Every time I picture that boy running along the river with worn-out shoes and a heart full of doubts, I'm reminded of something we adults often forget. Big dreams grow slowly, but they do grow. Sometimes the slow pace makes us frustrated. Sometimes the lack of visible progress makes us want to quit. Sometimes it feels like everyone else is racing ahead while we're stuck in place. But here's the part no one really talks about. breakthroughs don't happen in the moment you win. They happen in the quiet mornings no one sees, in the boring repetitions no one counts, in the tiny choices no one knows you made. And Moan? He lived through all of that, one morning at a time. Before we dive deeper into his challenges, I want you to pause for just a second and think about your own life. Is there something you're trying to pursue right now? A dream, a habit, a goal that feels almost impossible? If yes, then this story is meant for you. Because Moan's journey wasn't built on luck. It wasn't built on natural talent. And it definitely wasn't built on some miracle moment. It was built on one simple thing. A promise he whispered to himself every morning. I'm not stopping. Even when it hurt. Even when he was tired. Even when the dream felt unbearably far away. And trust me, the road ahead for Moan was about to get so much harder. So much harder. But for now, remember this. Great stories don't begin with someone who has everything. They begin with someone who almost has nothing, except the courage to keep going. For a long time, Moan joined every race he could possibly sign up for. And every single time, he ended up behind someone else. Not dead last, but never first. You know that feeling, right? That feeling of being so close, yet never quite getting there? It's like there's a fire inside you that doesn't go out. But it doesn't burn bright either. It just flickers, ready to die out if one more gust of doubt blows your way. Some nights, Moan would come home, sit by the window, watch the soft yellow light glowing from his father's workshop, and ask himself, what if they're right? What if I'm just not good enough? But then, the next morning came, and he would still lace up his shoes, still run along the riverbank, as if telling himself, today I'll try just a little bit more. One rainy morning, the dirt road was soaked and slippery, but Moan still went out running. He took one step too fast, his foot slid, and he crashed hard onto the ground, so hard he couldn't get up right away. His ankle swelled instantly, mud smeared all over his clothes. He sat under a tree, rain dripping through his hair, mixing with his tears. And in that moment, it wasn't just the physical pain. It was that heavy, aching question inside. Why does it feel like the harder I try, the more everything pushes against me? Have you ever felt that way? Like you're giving everything you've got, but life still collapses on you? Right then, an old farmer happened to walk by. He stopped, stared at Moan for a long moment, and gently asked, "Son, why are you crying?" Moan told him everything. The effort, the losses, the fear that maybe he just wasn't good enough. The old man pointed toward a bamboo grove in the distance and said, "Do you know how long a bamboo seed takes to grow?" Moan shook his head. 5 years, the man said. For 5 years, nothing breaks through the soil, but underneath, the roots are spreading, getting stronger. And when the time is right, the bamboo shoots up 80 feet in just a few weeks. Then he looked straight into Moan's eyes and said, "You may not see anything yet, but your roots are growing too." Some words don't need to be long or poetic. They just need to arrive at the right moment. And for Moan, that sentence was like a breath of life blowing into a heart that had already grown tired. Moan's ankle was still hurting when another challenge hit him. His father's carpentry work slowed down. Business was bad. Money was tight. Some nights, Moan could hear his father coughing in the workshop, too exhausted to even finish dinner. One evening, his father looked at him and quietly said, "Maybe. Stop running for a while, son. Help Dad out. Running won't put food on the table." Those words weren't a scolding. They were the honest truth of a poor father trying to make sure his son would be okay. Moan lowered his head. He didn't know how to respond. He loved his father deeply, but he also feared that, if he stopped now, he might never have the strength to chase his dream again. That night, Moan stayed up late. He looked at his worn-out shoes and then at his father's calloused hands, and he made a decision. "I'll keep running, But I'll help my father too. I'm not giving up. And then something else happened. A new runner moved to the village, Thomas. Taller, stronger, and trained in a way Moan had never been. During their practice runs, Thomas would leave Moan behind with almost no effort. Sometimes he'd even laugh and say, "You, getting into the sports academy? Don't daydream, kid." Moan didn't talk back, but inside it stung a little. No one likes being compared. No one likes being reminded they're not as good as someone else. But instead of breaking down, Moan did something different. He watched videos of professional runners. He practiced breathing the right way, adjusted his posture, added an extra 30 minutes to his runs every single day. Moan didn't shout about it. He didn't brag. He didn't post anything online. He just worked, quietly, steadily, like someone who truly believed that results would speak for themselves. And maybe this was the hardest challenge of all. There were mornings when Moan woke up and his body simply didn't want to move. Days when running felt like dragging 2 heavy stones tied to his legs. Moments when he'd look into the mirror and whisper to himself, "Am I fooling myself? Why am I even doing this?" Have you ever felt that way? When you doubt yourself more than anyone else ever could? But every time Moan came close to stopping, he remembered the old man's words. Your roots are growing, so he kept running, not fast, not perfectly, but consistently. And then, something magical started to happen. All those challenges, one after another, they didn't break Moan. They shaped him. They made him stronger, quietly, slowly, in ways he didn't even notice. Moan had no idea that every single one of those mornings, every drop of sweat, every moment he almost gave up, was preparing him for the biggest moment of his life. A moment that would come at the district race, the one race where only the winner would earn a place in the sports academy. But to get to that day, Moan had to survive everything that came before it. And he did. Then the day finally arrived. The day Moan had imagined 1,000 times. The stadium was packed. Teams from the city, from big schools, from places where athletes were professionally trained, they were all there. And standing quietly among them, in a pair of worn-out shoes, with slightly shaking hands but steady eyes, was Moan. Today, he wasn't running to beat anyone. He was running to prove to himself that he belonged here. His father sat in the stands. He didn't cheer. He didn't shout Moan's name. He just sat there, hands tightly clasped, as if praying for something he couldn't put into words. The starting whistle blew. Moan began to run. Not the fastest. Not charging to the front like the others. He simply kept his rhythm, his breath, his steps, his heartbeat. Dozens of runners sprinted ahead, but Moan moved at a calm, steady pace, the pace he'd practiced for years. It looked like he was falling behind, but he wasn't. He was doing exactly what he had trained for. Patience. First lap, Moan stayed in the middle. Second lap, he started inching forward. But the real miracle happened in the final lap, the place where dreams either break or take flight. 200 meters left. The pounding footsteps, the heavy breathing, the roaring crowd, all of it faded away. Moan heard only one sentence in his mind. Your roots are growing. And something inside him unlocked. His legs felt light. His breath synced perfectly with the wind. All the pain, all the fear, all the doubt that weighed him down suddenly disappeared. He pushed harder, past the first runner, past the second. And then, Thomas, the boy who once made him feel small, was right in front of him. For a split second, Moan saw flashes of everything he had lived through. The misty mornings, the late-night training, the injuries, the loneliness, the moments he almost quit. He gathered every last ounce of strength, and he passed Thomas. The wind roared in his ears. The crowd exploded. The finish line rushed toward him. Moan crossed it. And he won. First place. Moan's father jumped to his feet. The man who had always been so tough suddenly covered his face and cried. And Moan just stood there, breathing hard, smiling softly, as if he finally saw what he had always believed. Every effort was worth it. Years later, Moan returned to his village. He was no longer the skinny boy who used to run by the river, but a real athlete, someone who had stepped into the sports academy, just like he once dreamed. He went looking for the old farmer, the man whose single sentence had changed his entire life. The old man was sitting under the same tree, his eyes just as gentle as that rainy morning long ago. Moan bent down, his voice trembling as he said, "If I hadn't met you that day, I would have given up. Thank you for helping me understand that I was still growing, even when I couldn't see it." The old man smiled softly and replied, "I only said one simple thing. The rest, that was you choosing not to stop. That strength, it was always inside you, not inside my words." Moan stayed silent, because the old man was right. He was the one who took every step through those freezing mornings. He was the one who fought through fear, doubt, pain, and all the voices that told him he wasn't enough. The old man didn't give Moan strength. He simply helped him notice the strength he already had. And here's what I want you to take away from this story. Not everyone is born talented. Not everyone grows up with opportunities. Not everyone has people cheering for them. But everyone has the right not to give up. You might not see results today. You might not see progress this week. You might not feel any different this month. But just like the bamboo that spends 5 years growing roots underground, you might be growing in places you can't see yet. And I believe that one day, you'll have your own breakthrough moment, a moment where you finally realize, everything I went through mattered. So keep going. It's okay to be slow. It's okay to be tired. Just don't stop. Because someday, you'll rise taller, stronger, and braver than the version of you from yesterday. Consistency is something every one of us needs if we want to reach the things we truly desire, and I believe that strength already exists within you. Thank you for being here with me. It really means a lot. And you, what does your journey look like? Feel free to share it with me in the comments. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.